Hello listeners and welcome to episode 10 of The Model Philosopher. For some weeks now, I've been telling you about our fantastic sponsor, my favourite modelling show in the world, Scale Model Challenge. Today we'll be hearing from the main organiser of the show, Robert Crombeecke, and from the head ordnance judge and former guest on the show, Ivan Cocker, and from head figure judge and professional miniature painter, Fabrizio Russo. The guys sat down with me this week to talk judging, to tell us about the style of contest at SMC, and to tell us more about the latest news from the show. All right, everyone, thank you for joining us on this special episode of The Model Philosopher. Here we are here to talk about Scale Model Challenge, which is my favourite show in the modelling calendar. I think everything about it is geared towards excellence in a model show. And one thing that I always love, and I think stands head and shoulders above events of a similar nature, is the contest. So here today we have Robert Crombeecke, Ivan Cocker and Fabrizio Russo to talk about the contest. Ivan and Fabrizio are head judges in ordnance and figures respectively. So guys, welcome to the Model Philosopher.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Why don't you quickly introduce yourselves so people know who we're listening to? Robert, why don't you go first?
Okay, my name is Robert Crombeecke. I am the main organizer of SMC, also the founder of the show. I started in modeling roughly 25, no, almost 30 years ago, and about half of that time I've been organizing SMC since 2007, trying to make the difference. I am married to Margot, and she's also in the hobby, painting miniatures, figures, even crazier than I ever was in the hobby. So she's very fanatic about her painting. And we both travel together to shows, visiting other shows, obviously trying to promote our own event, but also to see how other people are doing this. And this whole organizing thing has become a main part of the hobby itself. So a little bench time for me, but I think it's all worth it at the end of the day. So yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
Hi, I'm Ivan Cocker from Malta. So I've honored again to be head judge at SMC. I've been into the sphere for I think 8 years now, and I've been in international competitions since '96. Started off as a judge, and then moving on as head judge at SMC. I take care of ordnance. We have quite a team of judges, a selective judges, and quite a vast category as well in ordnance. I have touched almost all military parts in modeling. Started off from AFVs, dioramas, figures. Nowadays, it's my profession, being a modeler as well. I take care models of inside museums and conservative, and even take care of very old models. So it's something quite different. What's modeling for me, especially shows like this, is the sharing aspect of it and meeting quite a spectrum of friends and something positive about it. It's an experience, and SMC makes a difference, a lot of difference.
Hello, I'm Fabrizio from Milan. I'm a professional painter since 2001. It's a job for me all day, and I really like it. It's so easy. Before painting three-dimensional, I was a traditional painter, but when I start painting miniatures, I've never stopped. So this is my hobby and my life, my job. So I did a lot of judges during this period. And the first time I was in SMC was as a judge. It's a very high level contest, and so there are strong names, but not only strong names. So you can find easily beautiful art in all the people around. So it's very interesting. And as Robert said, is different from the other. This year, I have the opportunity to be the head judge with Ivan. I'm so happy about it. It's the first time for me, so we'll see. I'm so electric about it. So, yeah.
You're the great. You're the great for sure.
And you're taking over figures, which is fantasy, historical figure dioramas. Quite a range, isn't it? Like Ordnance, there's a big range of categories there.
Yeah. The contest is it's very strong, as I said before, and I think I can easily say that as a medium quality is probably the highest in the world. So it's the kind of contest that you have to be prepared to take part in, because for a contest there are two options. You have to be focused on your way to move your standard, and another one, I'm okay, I take part because I'm ready to. So that's not the way to go to SMC. You have to take care of everything before the group. So.
All right. Now, I've been lucky enough to have been at a couple of judges' briefings, and there is a very strong philosophy to the show about finding the good in things. Ivan, can you tell us about that?
At SMC, our philosophy is open system. But when we start off with the briefing with the judges, we always do a very good talk, and we like to push the idea that we go on a positive thinking. So what is exactly positive thinking? It is easy to try to find mistakes in a model. It's quite easy for any judge to try. There's no perfect model. So that's something that comes automatically. So we try to push the judges look at what's good in a model. It's more a positive thinking. So what's the best thing the modeler tried to do with this work of art he tried to show us. So we push that very much in the judges. So, and we are very selective how we team up our judges. And we try, and so far we can say it's always working. This kind of thinking.
Yes, I agree. I totally agree. It's as I told before, it's a very strong competition. So the judge side is because of the level, and because of you're scared to do mistakes too. So it's something that you can easily have on a show. So it's so important to be focused on your way of judges, and that's very very hard to do to have. Yeah.
I think, although Fabrizio, you said that the median quality of the show is very high.
Yeah.
It's fair to point out that anyone can enter. It's not an elitist show in any way, and the beginners categories are always well supported. And I think when we're judging beginners, it's fair to say that with that you really are looking for the best. You're not looking to penalise them or to not reward them. You're looking to find what they do well and to encourage it and push it for them.
Absolutely. Yeah, you always have. When somebody put their own figure on the table, it's part of his heart. So you don't have to go with a knife because you are the judge. No, it's wrong. So there are always methods to say something to improve or something that you didn't understood, because there are also details that you can't understand in the message of the artist. So that's another point.
Some people say, Fabrizio, contests tend to encourage figure painters to paint towards what judges want, to kind of preserve their reputations and income, and that maybe there are certain styles and techniques that judges are looking for. Do you think that's the case, or do you think it influences the culture of miniature painting?
I think the best way to approach is always your own research in art. Let's call him art because it's quite similar. So I think the best way is find your way to express each kind of message you want to give to your models. It's not so easy to share it with public, but on the other side, when I judge, I always try to find something more than technique. Technique is an important part of the judgment, obviously, but it's the academical side of modeling, like it's the academical side of painting, of sculpting, and each one of the traditional art culture. So that's very important to me. So if I have to say something about how to take part in a show, try to find your answer, try to find your question and your answer to each details in your model.
Do you enjoy seeing something completely new, completely original?
Yeah.
Well, maybe original is a strong word, but something different.
Innovative.
This hobby's not being pushed enough.
Yeah.
Seriously though, is it something that you look for, something unusual, surprising in the work that you're judging?
It's not so easy to find something new because new and original, because the worst side of modeling is that it's I can say in one word, it's static. So the typical methods of the modelers is go for a static way, not only in the technical, but also in their own mind. Yeah, sometimes it's part of, like in my case, it's part of the job because you have to answer to customers or everyone wants something by you. But when you have to give your own touch, is something different, and that's the part where you can put your art, your everything about to give something more, your message. Message is something that in art is so important. So and find something like this is not easy because if not, it could be the medium quality. So sometimes we find the extra point of the figures.
So what's the actual criteria you're looking for when you're looking at figures?
It's something that attract me immediately. So it's not the technical aspect. Technical aspect, especially in masters, is something that you can easily find in each display. Everything is wonderful painted, wonderful sculpted. So it's so easy to find the super quality in technique. But harmony, colors, or just a little movement, also a little, I don't know, conversion, create something that is not that kind of figure that you can buy on the table and paint, but it's something that you have made by your own. So it's
customized.
Yeah. Customized is something that creates more aspect, more. I think these are the point that I want to see on tables by judges also. Yeah.
Ivan, how about ordnance? What are you looking for judging ordnance?
So we have to split, I think, even the mentality in ordinance from beginner to standard to master. So I feel from each step, especially when you start from beginners, it's a step to follow up from one leading to the other. So someone, especially that enters standard, his expectations are to gain up to masters. So each category, ordnance is split in diverse categories. So we have everything that is not figurine in a way. So we have from dioramas, from AFVs, aircraft, sci-fi, anything, ships, vehicles. But still, what we look at is the presentation, the skills involved in building up these models. And finally, it's the final product that you have on the table. I always emphasize as well, even when I speak to modelers, take care of everything from research, finishing, presentation, even the base. Because sometimes you see this, I hate to say it, ugly thing, a magnificent model, and then on a piece of wood that you don't find it on the floor and pick it up. So I feel that I used to say to my friend in Malta, you're going to a wedding with a full suit and with torn up shoes. That's or barefooted. That's how I see it, honestly. So I think you have to look at everything. So a modeler needs to really be nitpicking himself. It's not the judges that are nitpicking, but the modeler has to be nitpicker in a way. So it is his showpiece. So put everything, show up what you want to give. It's a gallery in a way. So show up yourself.
Some people should actually take a little more notice of the way they present their models.
Yes.
That goes for figures or ordnance. Doesn't really matter. Sometimes you see pieces that are full with stickers of 2,000 other shows that they've been on,
Yes.
or
Bit of
indeed,
dust.
indeed, what Ivan refers to, that you see a beautiful piece, or at least a very good piece, and then it's just put down on a, I don't know, piece of plywood that they find somewhere, or with static grass that is not painted or loose, not glued, or it's, if you come too close and you breathe too deep, you inhale all the static grass. And it's such a shame, though.
It's a shame. It's a shame. It's a shame.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it's like you say, Ivan. It's like you put in all that effort, and then at the last hurdle, you think, that'll do.
Yeah.
It just seems really.
But to set one thing straight, it's not the most important thing that judges are looking for. It just helps to make your model stand out
Exactly.
over the rest. That's what it is.
Ivan, do you think that style has homogenized in the vehicle classes over the last few years? I mean, I think there's a perception that a lot of the same techniques and same models are turning up again and again and again. Do you think competition does that to models?
I think skills are nowadays, they are moving so fast that everyone is learning in a way. In the past, we used to go to shows and someone come with innovative ideas. And okay, those ideas used to stand up. It used to be like a show puller in a way. And then you have a whole year people trying to mimic what this guy has done. Nowadays, with internet, it's basically 24/7. You see it today. The following day, someone is trying up this technique. So basically, things are so running fast. It's true. Sometimes, especially in masterclass, there is a tendency that you say it's almost you're seeing a stereotype thing. So overall, when you look at models, you say, oh, almost seems that everyone is improving and everyone is at the same level. But when you are a judge and you start scrutinizing each model one by one, you will see the difference. You will see there are styles, there are fashions, and there are schools of thought. I can say everything in a way, but it doesn't reflect that someone is going to be a fan zone, so you have to do this style to win a medal. I don't recall that. I think judges are good enough so to pick up what's positive and what's really giving a presentation in a way. So what's giving them, it's saying to them something back. When you're seeing this model, it's reflecting something to them. So that's why you get the goals, for example, and that's why you get certain medals.
But I think you can also find that the bigger names in um, from what I see in armor, or maybe and probably also in aircraft, um, you can still distinguish um, a certain signature of that particular
Yes,
modeler.
yes,
I
I
think
agree.
Lester Plask, and I think a guy like Lester Plaskett has a very his own style, for
Yes,
example. Um, and Fabrizio, I suppose that's the same in figures.
Yeah,
I mean, if you look at it from a distance, you might say, okay, that's all looks awesome, like you just said. But if you really dig in deep, you can still find the individual touches that certain painters have. I mean, like Arno Lavaro or Kirill Kanaev or Fabrizio Russo, they all have their own style.
yeah,
Mm.
that's true. But as Ivan said, with Patreon or the new aspect of sharing and paid to improve. At the moment, the level is getting higher and higher, but the interpretation is a bit lower than some years ago. That's probably the biggest problem we have at the moment, because we have very fantastic copy painters. I don't know how to say it, uh, but not original painters, and so that's a problem also for the, let me call them teachers, because when I teach, I always say that this is a part that you have to translate at home by yourself.
Yeah.
If not, you will never learn anything. You always copy, copy, and copy, and that's something that remains there. You can copy perfectly Raffaello, but it's Raffaello, and it's something that don't give uh, nothing to you and to him. So
That's true. Yeah,
you're just replicating in a way. So that's
yeah,
something. It happens that it's like art. When there's something in fashion, let's call it in fashion, and someone is following, so it's easy that there is a fellowship of
yeah,
style. But creativity needs to be pushed. So that's the winning part of a model.
exactly.
So if someone needs to goes that experiment, so it can go bad in a way. But you learn from experimenting. So I think that's something that needs to be
Yeah,
pushed.
absolutely. It's something that you go as an academical way. So you have to copy, you have to understand, you have to do your something that I always said to my students is do your own mistakes. If you don't do mistakes,
You never
it's
learn.
impossible to improve, because you
mm,
don't know where to go. So really, it's something that you need to do. And when you learn step by step by a video, you can't do mistake. So try to understand the video and replicate it in at your own. It's something that you can do it easily, like reading a book. You remember something, you can explain it. So it's
yeah,
So obviously, what we're speaking here is we're discussing a little bit master level.
yeah,
In standard level, you accept this. So you have to accept that
yeah,
modelers are following other styles, are like, let's call it copying in a way. But you still see in standard level, in all these years, I've seen pieces in standard level that are a level in creativity much more than master level. So
exactly. Yeah,
if you're in standard or just a beginning modeler, you like to try things more easy than when you're a master, because as a master, if you really enter competitions, you probably know what people want to see and what
yeah,
to expect.
that's true. That's true.
And as a as a novice, or somebody that doesn't care, just wants to do his own thing or her own thing, uh, it can be refreshing, actually.
That's
Yes.
true. That's true.
Standard classes can be very refreshing to look at, and sadly enough, they're often overlooked. If you see, if people go to shows and they post the pictures of all the models in the competition, very often, if not almost always, they take the pictures of the master classes, and the standard classes are often
Overlooked.
neglected. Often neglected, and that's sometimes sad, because you can find really nice creative pieces in the standard classes.
And
Yep.
sometimes you get the odd person who just doesn't know how good they are, and because they don't think, oh, I'm a
Yep.
master, so they enter standard.
Yep.
And then, they get a gold that year, they're masters next year, so that's fine. But
Well,
not many, but you get the odd few.
It depends on the competition. I mean, we require that, but yeah.
But I mean, it's people self-select, don't they, whether they go in. I think beginners usually know they're beginners. Maybe they might go in standard, but people have to choose whether they think they're a standard or a master when they enter. It's
we had somebody from Holland that entered beginners for about 10 years, until we said, hey, guy, you have to move up a bit.
You have some experience now.
Yeah. I mean, our beginners classes are really for the true beginners, and that's why we have one ordnance class for beginners, so that in that class you can put anything from aircraft, ships, tanks, robots, whatever you want. And in figures, we also have a mixed beginners class for historical and figure painting, because it's really for the true beginners in the hobby.
All right. Now, the criticism that gets levelled, Ivan, at the show by people who don't know what they're talking about, I mean, by people who haven't been to the show, is that the basic modelling skills and the basics of modelling don't matter, that it's all about a flashy paint job. What would you say to that?
I totally don't agree on that. So, construction and any skills that involves, especially in ordnance, each judge will look into that. So that's nothing is overlooked. For sure, nothing is overlooked.
It's part of the criteria that we have.
Exactly.
And although the criteria that we have are not like a sacred book, and the judges don't follow it by under a microscope, but for them it's just it's a tool, if there's anything. But construction is really part of the judging, at least in ordnance it is.
Obviously, in each class it's different. So and each team of judges knows how to check things. So let's say you don't expect bad construction masterclass, for sure. So why you entered masterclass? So that's why you're into masterclass. So you have masters all the skills by that time. So obviously there are different criteria that are looked into, but nothing is overlooked. I think that it's the only time as a judges can penalize that when you have bad construction.
Yeah. Well, when it's very blatant mistakes, or then it would cost you points.
Exactly.
Yeah. We're not there to punish people, but
no, exactly. But obviously, it's a choice. I think we have also to say how open system works, because some people don't understand it. Each modeler has his own gallery in a way. So normally in each category you put X amounts of pieces. So sometimes you have 3 or 4 pieces in that section, and the judges look. That's why we say sometimes you're not competing one next to the other, but you're competing by yourself in a way. So the first thing is what judges do is check that section, that gallery practically, and pick up your best model out of that. Or else, it's rarely done, but sometimes it happens, they select all the pieces, and you're awarded for all the pieces. But that's how it works. So people need to understand, model makers need to understand how open system works in a way.
And you're judging against the standard of the hobby at the moment, not against the guy next to you, basically.
So it depends each category. So if we're speaking master level, we know that the standard is getting high each year. The benchmark is always being lifted. The bar is getting up. So yes, to reach that expectations, we know the standard. That's why how it works out, how you select the judges in each category. We know that all of them are master modelers. So that's one aspect how we manage to get the standard in a way. So their positive thinking in a way and their contribution reflects in the standard. Each section has their particular modelers. So let's say the team is judging dioramas. They are all dioramists. You don't have someone that doesn't do dioramas and you're judging dioramas, for example. So that's something we really work hard and we really push. So that's how we manage to get the standard in a way.
About standard, I think in painting standard probably is one of the most complicated category because when you have selected the goals that probably are easier than in other categories, the rest of the displays are all on the same level. So it's not so easy to find why you choose silver or bronze for that display or figure. As a judge, you have to be concrete in this kind of system, and this is not so easy. So it's really a complicated category. In the same category, but in master, painting master, for example, is complicated because of the numbers. Numbers in SMC are huge. So so when you are on I don't know 80 or 100 displays, it's complicated to keep in mind what you have done on gold and why, because the most important part is why you gave gold to that figure and not on the other one, because they're all beautiful. So you have to understand why you are giving gold, why you are giving silver, and later why you have to move something. So it's very, very harsh to stay on the side of the table. So when you judge a contest like this, all the contests, but in particular strong contests like SMC, you learn a lot in models. So it's very, very important to have the opportunity to judge. So when I talked to Robert to select some judges, I ask for some new names because I want to improve and increase the number of people who have the opportunity to understand what it means to be on the other side of the table, because you will learn a lot. You will improve your also your style. To me, was so important to improve. My first judgment in an important show was Le Petit Soldat, and I was one of the first fantasy painter invited by the organizer. So it was a shock for me because I've never something like that. So
That was Saint Vincent.
yeah, 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 yeah. So it's very important to improve our list of judges. Also because if not, the system and the medals are always the same. So
Yes.
so we have to change.
What do you think makes someone a good judge, Fabrizio?
That's a strong question. I think you have to be sincere and try to be honest, but something that you don't have to do is punish the another artist because it's not something that comes from your way of from your style. It's so important because sometimes if you don't recognize something that you do easily, that's not good. No, it's something wrong in this case. So it could be done in a different way, and it's fantastic. It's another fantastic way to have the same results. So it's very complicated to select medals. So sincere is the most important part of your job. So I think.
And open-minded.
An open mind. Yeah, sure. Yeah, that's when I said we are static. We need also to open our minds.
Now, you both run pretty small judging teams in comparison to some other events. How do you get so many models judged in, 4 or 5 hours at SMC?
What do you mean small?
Well, I mean, at some shows, which I don't want to name.
Okay. Yeah, they have 200 judges. Yeah.
And I mean, how many judges do you have at SMC? It's maybe...
I think it's 56 or so this year.
Yeah, 56.
Without these two guys. Yeah.
But you're judging 2,500 models, roughly, something like that?
The last ones are done, I think, at 9 o'clock in the evening, and we start at about 9 o'clock. Maybe a little bit early, but we start at 3. So...
Yeah, so 6 hours.
Well, it's 5-6 hours. It's a job. Trust me.
Yeah, it is.
It's beyond hobby. It's beyond hobby.
Yeah.
To get that straight, because a lot of people think, oh yeah.
Basically, you have to talk to us after we are finished, so we are completely drained out, with our eyes colored red.
I think the judges are usually the only people you don't see in the bar afterwards because they've just gone to bed. 1 hour.
Some of them actually do. Yeah.
That's true.
That's also the reason why we sometimes switch. We don't have the same judges every year. And also that's one of the reasons, because I also want them to enjoy the show for once.
50 judges doing
56. I think it's 56.
Yeah, let's say 56. Yeah, doing 2,300, 2,500 models in 6 hours. How do you do it?
You have to be a judge to understand that.
Part of it is because it's the open system, right?
If there's a display, you look at all the pieces in the display, and then you select as a team. You decide, okay, that one's getting the award, or what Ivan said before, all 3, 4, or 10 pieces in that, so you can award the whole display. But the idea is that they look at all the models. But I think maybe Fabrizio can enlighten that. But I think people often see. I think the one that really stands out. Often you can see that one immediately. But not always. But you can.
It's bad to say, but it's easy to find the goals in a show.
Yes.
Maybe you have to check 2 times to be sure, but it's the easiest part, because are a few, are only not 2,000, are only a few. So it's easy to find your favorite displays in categories. So you check all when I start, I check all the displays, and then I decide which are the goals, and then go down silver and bronze. Then check once again to be sure. Why? Because sometimes there are figures that or displays that are not exactly gold, or not exactly silvers or bronze. So you have to decide in another part of the judgment. So it's you turn back many times on displays, on each display. So.
And how do the ordnance judges work, Ivan?
So similar
Yeah.
perception, but it's always worked in a team. Sometimes it is very difficult between, I think most arguments are to select.
Yes, that's right. Yeah,
So
yeah, 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 yeah.
sometimes it's more takes time there to select from a display, and when you're part of the team, you learn a lot. You learn a lot because something we try to do is combine different mentalities, different judges. So that works out quite good. So that you have different reasoning in and different opinions. Because if you have three judges that have similar opinions, it's not always the result might be positive. So when you have different mentalities, you create discussion between them, and so that's how they select the best out of that category. Some people think that there might be someone who's leading up and trying to influence the others, but I don't recall that from any teams that I have seen so far. You have people trying to come up with their own opinions, but when you start hearing the discussions, and it's a real learning factor for me. Honestly, judging is a learning experience so far.
And that's also where the head judges come in. That if there is a discussion,
Exactly.
and for example, they really hear that some of the things don't make any sense, or if there is really a discussion about real topics, they are the first ones that have to make a final decision, or drop some ideas of how people can maybe change their perspective into a more workable way. Or, I mean, also being a head judge is not something ceremonial. It's
No,
it's
not at
also
all.
it's also a job. Uh,
Tough one. Es- Especially when you have certain arguments. A very tough one.
I've seen it happen where we haven't agreed on a team, and Ivan's come over to straighten us out. And you always do it the same way. You don't tell us what to
no,
do. You remind us what the criteria is, and you remind us what we're looking for. And usually that's enough between us. Then we can
yeah,
make a decision. It's just a little nudge back onto the onto
Exactly.
how
My
to assess
philosophy
it.
is always I'm trying to see that the judges see the positive thing in the modeler in that model. So you don't really I don't like to see someone trying to penalize that model in a way, so or minimize it. So I try to bring up the judges, feel something for it, and try to push it in benefit to the modeler. If you're in doubt in a certain way to certain aspects, give benefit to the modeler. That's something I try to push very often, and I try so far not to influence. I never influence judges. I try to see what they try to come up with in a way.
How do you do that many models in 6 hours?
It's by experience. I,
I honestly, I think also one of the things I always say in the judges briefing, or what I say in the judges briefing, is that they're judging the models. Sometimes I've been at shows where they have been very cozy gathering the judging team and start elaborating on the model about what brand it is and how they did it, and stick to the job and do whatever is necessary to get the job done as fast as possible, but in a in a in a in a in a, um, in a thorough way. So try to avoid the small talk, because I've seen it happen. I've judged at many shows as well, and I've witnessed it, and it just takes up a lot of time that you don't want to spend. Well, you want to spend it in the bar afterwards, but not during the judging. That's one thing from my side. I don't know what if the other gentlemen have another idea, but yeah.
No, it's
What do you
correct.
think,
It's
Fabrizio?
correct. Yeah.
I think you're kind of saying the same thing. It's I don't want to say professionalism because it's not, it's not a paid job, but yeah, you use your time efficiently and you do it because your judges know what they're doing. They do it quickly and they do it well, and that's how it works. What do you think, Fabrizio?
Yeah, everything here is complicated, so it's really it's really part of our hobby. Complicated our life, so it's okay. But I agree with Ivan when he said that you have to push to find something better. To give more quality to the show, which modelers. And so I think in a contest like this, little details or the first impression is something that give you the general idea. So if the first impression of a model is that you want to understand it better and attract you, it's one of your favorite model. And then you search for something, you understand it better and better, and so it grow up also your way of judgment in that display and all the other display related, because every contest is different, and so each model can be judged in a different way in a different contest. So you have to focus it on that moment. It's so important. So the first impression is very, very important when you judge.
The other thing is, although part of the judges, especially or specifically in the figure part of the contest, they're professionals.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, we're all hobbyists, and we all in love with the hobby, and we love to see awesome models. And that's where where it becomes difficult not to elaborate on how wow something is,
Yeah.
but stick to the job. And that's so you have to be a little bit forgiving, of course. But yeah, we still have to push the judges every now and then
That's true. That's true.
to move onwards. Yeah.
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 In fact, judging is something almost, I say, personal in a way. You're so intimate with
It is.
the model. You're sometimes you
Yep.
have the model in your hand. So it's quite something in a way. So that's true. That's true.
I recall times when I judged and I saw fantastic models, and I think I get I kept getting back to it, 5, 6 times to admire it. Yeah,
It is a privilege judging, like you were
It
saying
is.
earlier, that
It is.
you're looking at it. The only person who's looked at that model arguably more closely than you have was the person who made it.
Yep.
No
That's
one
true.
else has looked at it as hard as that.
No.
And I really don't like audience chosen awards. Some shows have it where
No.
people cast votes on which model wins. No one looking at those models is going to look at it as closely as a judge does. And you see things when you're judging that people walking past probably might not pick up.
Exactly.
Particularly, it tends to be the more showy models that win.
But a public's choice, or whatever you call it, can also have its charm.
Yeah.
I know. Usually, it's the biggest and the most colorful piece on the table, and not necessarily the best. But I do recall. I think I mentioned it in another podcast as well. We once had a best of show by Arthur Ascoue from Spain, big aircraft diorama, and that one also got selected. We had the kids, the children at the show. They could vote for the children's favorite or something, and they chose that one.
Wow.
Maybe that was a lucky draw, but it was it was a good choice. It was a good choice.
But you do learn a lot as well looking at these things.
Yeah, you do.
People choice is also influenced by internet, Instagram.
Yes.
Yeah. So.
And friends that are present at the show.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yes. Yeah.
So.
Now, that being said, there's a consistent standard at the show. How do you maintain that standard in the quality of the results year on year?
I think it all comes down to selecting the right judges,
Mm.
and it's not always perfect. I admit, I'm the first one to admit that, but I think it's the way that we select the judges,
That's excellent.
because we're very particular on that. We really want to have people that know what they're talking about. Being a good painter or a good modeler doesn't make them per se a good judge. We've also had that experience, but um, I mean, we've had a lot of judges over the years, and uh, like I said, there are several reasons why we change them every now and then. But I think, yeah, I think it's just the way that we select the judge. We don't select judges at the door. I mean, it's not like somebody comes in. Oh, we need a judge for the ships. Do you want to? Do you have? Can you spare a minute of your time? No, we don't. I mean, we invite the judges months before,
Yes.
also for practical reasons as well, because they have
Mm.
to get their hotel and get arrange their trip, and blah 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 blah. There's a lot to arrange for people, um, but yeah, I think that's one of the reasons.
But you also know
You,
you're going to have the judges you need on the day. If you selected
yeah,
them, they've
well,
confirmed, then you know.
yeah, yeah. Well, there's always the occasional uh, person that has to cancel for whatever reason. I mean,
Mm.
everything can happen. I don't think I think we all know health issues or family matters or whatever. Anything can happen. But yeah, yeah. So in that case, we have to find a replacement judge. But even then, we are very picky.
Mm. Now, Robert, you've said before on the podcast that on Sprue Cuts Union, I think when we had you on, that you started SMC to make the show you wanted shows to be. What was it that you wanted to do differently?
Oh my God! don't get me, don't get me started on that.
What is it that we
Uh,
could broadcast that you wanted to do?
um, well, first of all, I think, and I actually hate this, but to say this because I hate the word, because everything has to be an experience these days. Even doing your grocery shopping, but I think that's one of the things. It has to be an experience. I mean, I expect people to come over for 2 days. Well, at that time still 1 day, but 2 days. I expect them to spend a lot of money to get that to the show, because they have to travel from far or from near, doesn't matter, but they still have to travel. They have to pay to get in. They have to pay to enter the competition. So you want to offer people, well, you want an experience. They have to. In my opinion, they have to leave the show with the idea that they still have missed a part of it, because there wasn't time enough to see everything there is to see or to experience. And I think that's it took a while to get there. Of course, I mean, didn't wasn't there from day one, but I think nowadays. I hear from a lot of people that they spend 2 full days at the show and still have the feeling that they missed a lot of it. And for me, that's great. Not for them, but for me, that's great, because it will probably mean they will come back next year.
Mm.
Come on, we have people coming over from as far as New Zealand,
That's true.
from Japan, Taiwan, China, from the States, um, from South America. I mean, it's not just slapping a couple of tables in the room and putting models on it, like some other shows unfortunately still do after so many years. Yeah, it's you know you want to offer something, and I think, well, I think it all comes down that what I think is that we care and respect. We care for the people that come to the show, and we respect them. And if that, whether those are the vendors or the visitors or the contest participants or the clubs, and of course we cannot keep everybody happy. We're not a pizza, And there will always be somebody that has a complaint about one thing or the other, but we respect them. And that, with respect, I also mean that if people enter the competition, we ask the judges to really look at all the models that those people enter. I mean, we ask them to pay for it, so at least we have to give them the courtesy to look at their models, even if they're not that good. Doesn't matter. Um, uh, uh, I think that's one of the other reasons, that one of the things that I try to change is that we have clear rules and criteria for the competition. And although, and again, they're not all carved in stone, and things can be a bit, how to say, can be a bit gray sometimes, even for judges. But at least we try to give guidelines for everybody. And I also realize that not everybody reads it. But then again, if you, and that's what Fabrizio said earlier, if you come prepared to the show, you read the criteria, because then you know what is asked in that particular class, um, what your model should live up to some extent.
Yeah.
And if your model doesn't tick the majority of the boxes in of those criteria, then you might consider putting them in a different class. I mean, yeah, that's the way it is. I think the whole appearance of the show. I mean, we cover all the trading tables with the black tablecloths. We do that the same with the competition area. I think we have a proper lighting system over the models. We changed the lights last year to give a better color rendition, uh, which is especially an important aspect for the figures. We have proper display tables. They are not too low, not too high. I think unless you're in a wheelchair, you might be an issue sometimes. I think the whole show, it's although it's very busy and it's really full with vendors, it's still spacious, because the aisles in general between all the rows of tables are quite good compared to a lot of other shows. So you can still breathe every now and then. And I think one of the major aspects that we have is that we have an unequaled number and variety of vendors at the show. I mean, this year I think we have 171, 172 different companies there, divided over 150 something stands. So some share stand, uh, but there's really that many different companies.
And
So
a lot of it's really unique, kind of, for want of a better phrase, boutique business.
yeah, there are a lot. I think there are a lot of also like startups and smaller companies, especially in the figure, because especially in the figure branch, there are a lot of manufacturers nowadays,
Yeah.
and they all want an opportunity to present themselves at the show, which is quite remarkable actually, because if you really look at it, uh, I mean, internet is a big is the thing. I mean, people learn on internet, people buy mainly on internet. And someone once said to me that shows are dying, and maybe some of them are, but I think shows are still important for people to actually see models live instead of on a screen, which
Absolutely.
is still a big difference. And I think a lot of people want to have in their hands what they buy before they buy it still. So yeah, that's also one of the reasons that we have so many vendors. I think I can only I can only cheer, because it gives people also a lot to look at during the show. Yeah, even
Now,
if they're not buying.
you mentioned registration.
Yeah.
Registration closes in 2 weeks now, 3 weeks?
October 6th
October 6th.
at 10 p.m. Central European time. I have to say that Central
Yeah.
European time, because I think last year somebody from America, from
Mm.
Australia, complained that they couldn't register anymore.
Yeah, I get that when I put this show out. The Australians saying, "Why isn't it up yet?" Because you live in the future.
Yeah, 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 they live in the future. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And
Yeah.
Americans live in the past.
So, but I would recommend, and not for us, but I would recommend people to pre-register because it saves you a lot of time on the day itself on Saturday. Because at 1 o'clock we close the whole registration system because you can enter on the day itself, but then your registration costs you €20. Doesn't matter how many models and how many classes, it's just €20. But if you use the pre-registration system and you pay before 10 p.m. CET on October 6th, you only pay €12.50. So regardless of the number of medal and classes, so there is a €7.50 advantage which you can spend on
Beers.
yeah, or a cheese sandwich, whatever. Yeah.
3D printed accessories for your.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, Chris. I remember that. Yeah.
Joking aside, though, I mean, I've always pre-registered since you brought it in, I think, and
Yep.
when you get there, the queue's really long, and you might think, "Oh, why did I bother?" But that queue moves fast
Well,
because the pre-registered system is really smooth.
yeah, well, we have before we had 2 lines for the pre-registered models, and now we have 3 rows.
Right.
So if you come into so if you pre-registered and you come into the registration room, just look a little bit up, and there are 3 banners hanging, and then we have the first letters of the surname. So you have probably A to whatever, and then yeah. So we have 3 different lanes on alphabet of your surname. So please look at that, and then you find the right line because you might be standing in the wrong queue.
No forms to fill out. Just put your sticker on your model, put it in the right place,
Yes.
and you're off perusing the competition or the traders or whatever else you want to fill your time with. So
Yeah.
definitely worth doing ahead of time.
Yeah, and for the people that attend the early morning workshops that start at 10 o'clock or whatever, they can come in at 9:30, so a little bit earlier than the rest, and then bring their models to the table on Saturday. Because we don't have, we're not ready yet on Friday to have models or anybody from the registration team actually on Friday present so you cannot bring the models on Friday. Sorry for that. Yeah.
All the information for that is at scalemodelchallenge.com.
Yes.
And you will also find all the competition classes, the criteria, and as much information as you could possibly want to decide where your work of art is going to be put this year in the contest. So go along and read all of that, and you'll get all the information you need to know what to expect.
Yep.
So there's no excuse.
True.
All right. Now, this is the bit where I always ask, any other thing I should be asking you about, guys?
Well, I have some things to say about what people can expect more this year.
Mm-hmm.
Well, except for what I just mentioned. Well, we have some new vendors present. There's also a launch of a new aircraft model brand with a quite extraordinary stand, as far as I can tell from now. That's going to be pretty interesting. We have a discussion panel as well on Saturday, led by Tuika. So I think that will be very controversial, knowing Tue, and he has invited some people, and we will announce it shortly about the what's going to happen and what he's going to talk about. There's a speed painting contest as well on Saturday afternoon when the judging starts, because then the competition room closes for visitors. So we have a speed painting competition on the main contest, which is run by our friends from Chestnut Ink. And they have some lovely prizes, and they will put up their advertisement also very shortly. We have 3 Dutch artists that are exhibiting their work. We have Harry Arling, aka Cosmotronics. For those who went to the World Model Expo, the guy with the weird helmet and the whole contraption on it, and he makes really, really great stuff. He has an exposition as well. We have and 2 local guys. We have Wijnand Driessen, who's actually a cinematographer, but he's also an artist. He's a canvas artist, but he also makes miniature buildings or completely scratch built from carton, which he's exhibiting at the show. But he's also he loves Japan. He was married to a Japanese wife, and he has his paintings. He has some of his Japanese paintings and other paintings up as well. And we have Joris van Os, who is a writer and a terribly funny guy as well. And he makes miniature landscapes and box dioramas. And he is also exhibiting at the show. And all these guys are making stuff that is more or less related to our hobby, but not really our hobby. But what I really want to show people is that there are more ways to look at the miniature world. And this is something that we want to expand more into next year as well. We have a wonderful, wonderful magazine that we are giving for free to all the visitors at SMC this year, and it's a magazine that was very skillfully made by some guy from England, by Chris Maddings. And there are contributions from a lot of people that we've asked to write something about why they think SMC is a show that everybody should go to. So it's basically one big advertisement for SMC. Without becoming too cheesy, actually, because I think the stories in there are pretty good. And I didn't ask people to be only positive, but the thing is, they all are. So that's the whole thing. And of course, from every contributor, there's a gallery of their work in there.
There's some really beautiful work in there. It's such a joy to do layouts, working with such fantastic pictures. Yeah, really beautiful stuff. And all the stories are from the heart, aren't they? All personal stories about their experience of SMC.
And some of them are very. Some of them. For reading some of these stories back, I became very emotional about it as well because there were some memories from the past that are really and some were just fun and probably nobody will understand what they're writing about because it's really an in-crowd joke. But it's really. But it's a beautiful. It was a beautiful magazine, and I think I lifted almost 800 kilograms of magazines 3 or 4 times because it was delivered unannounced at our doorstep. I wasn't at home, so Margot was the lucky one. So when I came home, the whole living room was. It was full with boxes with books. So it was. But it's it's really a magazine printed on a high quality paper. So that's really fantastic. So, and we have a commemorative piece by Karel Rudik art. The concept art is by Paul Bonner, and the 3D sculpting was done by Isabella Barone. It's a stunning piece. And Paul Bonner himself will be there at the show as well. Why do I forget him? He will be there to, he'll be selling some of his artwork as well. But he also has thank you for pointing that out, Fabrizio. Paul Bonner is also painting miniatures, and he has his stuff on display at the show.
Fantastic.
So in the judges' cabinets or in between the judges' cabinets, Paul Bonner was also exhibiting his painting endeavors. So I think that will be very worthwhile looking at.
Yeah.
And that's really fantastic to
It's a milestone.
Really,
let me tell you, it's a milestone because Paul Bonner it's a myth. So
I know. Yeah, we're I'm really looking forward to that. And he's really a nice bloke to talk to as well. So there's another thing I would like to say about the hotel reservations, because usually at this time people start canceling hotel rooms because they cannot come. And the SMC website, there is a page that says, what is it, traveling to, or there you can find the link to booking the hotel rooms, and I really recommend people to keep trying it because luckily it works with an automatic system nowadays again. So I think it would be a good idea that if you still need a room or have booked a room outside of the venue, that is still, you can still cancel that when you have a room at the hotel. I think it will be worthwhile to check our website every now and then and go to the page that says plan your visit. You can find it on the homepage 2 or 3 times, and you can click, and then you can find the link to the reservation system of the venue's hotel. I suggest you keep trying it, because literally every year there will be like 25, 30 rooms that are not attended to at the end, because people do cancel every year. Same as with vendors. The minute I publish the floor plan that I made, probably 2 minutes after, I can count on one one company canceling. So that's the same thing. So that's I think that's the most important things that yeah, that's all. Yeah, I think that's enough. I think for now, don't you think so?
Ivan, Fabrizio, anything to add?
I think it's
Not really.
No.
not really. It's an experience you can't miss. That's what I say. Every year it's for me it's a pilgrimage. That's what I call it.
Pilgrimage. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I agree. Yeah, it's something that you can't miss. So I agree. I totally agree. So we'll see you there.
Yeah, see you there. Yeah. Yeah, I missed one. I had to say one more thing. In the competition app Emperor, we get a lot of emails now that people say that they try to log in with their last year's password. The thing is, we never keep any data because of GDPR, security, whatever. If you enter the competition, if you want to enter the competition now or register your models, you have to make a new account every year. Just saying. Just saves me a lot of emails if people hear this.
To be honest, it's really quick and easy. It's easier creating an account than it is to remember your password. So just create an account.
Yeah, exactly. But again, we don't keep the data, so that's why.
All right. Thanks, everyone. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
That was a great chat with Robert, Fabrizio and Ivan, and I very much enjoyed it. Don't forget to register your models at scalemodelchallenge.com right now, and as Robert said, keep trying that hotel link to get your room on site. Staying nearby is great, but staying on site is highly desirable, trust me. Over the last few episodes, I've had a number of messages and emails that I'd like to share with you now. Raphael Shelton writes, I was amazed by the Maren and Barry episode. To hear Barry talk through some of these questions was fantastic. And every time I hear Maren talk, I want to just absorb everything he has to say. Just when I thought you had reached the peak of episodes that would interest me personally, you have Harry Arnling. I've only known him from his stuff on Facebook, so getting a peek behind the curtain was a real treat. Keep up the great work. I appreciate the thoughtfulness and pretension of the model philosopher. I really think that these are questions and ideas worth digging into. I have some ideas about the question, why we model. I'd make it a Venn diagram of a few circles. Humans are built to create, regardless of one's opinion on the source of that drive. As children, play allows us to learn to navigate the world around us. It is how we internalise things in a safe way. And finally, ownership power. By making scale models, we're able to exercise power and ownership, even if only in a totemic way over the real things, especially if those things don't exist in the real world. I don't mean ownership power in a bad way. In my opinion, we create models because we overlap these three. You could argue that 2 and 3 are really the same thing. Consider this my draft thesis. Cheers, Raphael. I think Raphael has some very astute observations about why we do this, and I think having some control over something in our lives really is a big part of it. My good friend Rui Matos writes, excellent interview talk with Harry Arling. Having been following Harry's works for a long time, I've pestered him a few times, and one thing I regret a lot is having failed to buy his book, Cosmotronics. Not being art, says who? Not being scale modelling, says who? One thing is certain about Harry's works, they are very refreshing, colourful, and always make me smile. Thank you, Chris, and Cosmotronics, Harry Arling. I have to agree, As I said, I think in the episode, for me, Harry's cosmetronics are kind of unalloyed joy in 3D form, and it's really uplifting to see them. Chris Becker, aka Becker's Models, writes, "Really enjoyed that one, Chris. It spurred me to have a little discussion about modelling art on my own channel. That joy of creating something is really the highlight for me, and Harry articulated well." Chris has done an excellent video on his channel about this. Look up Becker's Model on YouTube for his recent video on modelling and art. I don't 100% agree with his definition of art, but as there's no definitive definition, it's as valid as mine or anyone else's, and Chris presents it in a thorough and well-constructed argument, all while demasking a model. Philosophy and ASMR, what's not to like? Kostas Papadimitriou writes on the Model Philosopher blog, "Very interesting conversation. Thank you both, Maren and Barry, and of course Chris also. I have some strong objections to the rule, never putting something parallel to the edge of your base, which is, in my humble opinion, the most flawed rule, although it works, as flawed as the 2/3 rule for two-dimensional works, which also works. Of course, I've been observing this rule in my dioramas, and dioramists are trained to view parallel compositions as wrong even when they're not. To make it short and avoid writing a complete article on my own, I would redraw the rule upside down. Non-parallel arrangement is an easy way for faux dynamism. That's why I viewed it as flawed. If a parallel arrangement doesn't work on a particular composition, then the problem is with all the other elements of the composition. Detail, colour, contrast, relation of elements, and not with the arrangement. You should use non-parallel arrangement only when you can justify its use and when all other means to give dynamism to the composition have failed. The only reason that non-parallel arrangement works is because we tend to put the base parallel to the table and the viewer. That's just my 2 cents, or half a cent. Thank you for your time." I'm not sure I agree with Kostas. It seems to rely on the assumption that parallel composition is a default and deviation from the default must be justified. But it's not. You could just as easily argue that diagonal composition is the default and deviation to parallel must be justified. But again, it's a point of view, and all I really want to do with this show is put forward different points and share them with you, the listener. Kostas, if you're listening, I want to thank you for your regular contributions to the Model Philosopher blog in the comments section. I always enjoy your replies. Don't forget, if you're not a native English speaker and you find it difficult to follow the discussion on the podcast, or if you prefer the written format, you can always find every episode of the Model Philosopher as a transcript illustrated on the modelphilosopher.com blog. Finally, I'd like to thank our patrons and everyone that supports the show. You can support the show at patreon.com/themodelphilosopher or by leaving a review for the show on your podcast app of choice. You can also help by introducing others to the Model Philosopher. A final piece of news, you can pre-order ITA3 products for Scale Model Challenge. Just visit InsideTheArmour.com and email me your order before Monday the 23rd of September. I will invoice you and your order will be waiting at SMC. Check out the newly released items including 135th MG34s, MG42s, British tank stowage bin latches, hatch latches for Churchill and Cromwell, and pyrene extinguishers with etched labels, and much more at InsideTheArmour.com. As always, thank you for listening to The Model Philosopher, and I'll see you soon.